right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Thursday, June 20th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, it's a weekend preview, and there's no huge new movie opening this weekend. There are some new movies going into wide release, but I mean, I think we got to start by talking about the big holdover because Inside Out 2 has been steamrolling all week. I mean, I'm looking at a a deadline article from Anthony D is for Disney D'Alessandro.
D is for
And
dancing in the streets because of this Inside Out 2 box office.
I mean, he right now is feeding his family with articles about Inside Out 2's box office success. And good for him. I don't begrudge anyone feeding mother and child with clicks. And right now he is feeding them with clicks from Inside Out 2.
I
And
was
his
gonna
headline,
call him a P and S, but then I
oh,
realized that sounds way more profane than if I just said he's like a pig in shit.
okay, he's a P in S. Yeah, there's other P's. There's a lot of P's.
There's some
And
Mad
there's
Libs that could be done there that I don't think are appropriate. So I want to really stress that I feel like he is a pig in shit is what I
pig.
feel like he is right now.
Okay, yeah. Don't make this profane, audience. Clayton
No.
meant that Anthony D is for Disney D'Alessandro is a pig in shit with all these Inside Out 2 articles. And he just wrote one. Inside Out 2 headed for Juneteenth box office record with near 30 million. So that is projecting that today, the day we record this, a Wednesday, that Inside Out 2 is about to set a record for the biggest Juneteenth take of all time. So
Mhm.
that is a historic uh, day for Inside Out 2. I mean, it right now, I mean, in that same article, it's saying that it's going to have the second biggest Wednesday of an
Mhm.
animated film. And the only Wednesday that's going to have beat it is when Despicable Me, let's see which one, Despicable Me 2 opened to $35 million on its opening day.
Mhm.
So Inside Out 2, this is not the opening day. This movie's been out since last Thursday, last Friday. So it having a Wednesday that's almost as big as the opening day of Despicable Me 2, now we're starting to see, is this going to be, obviously we're only 5 days in, but just how big could this Inside Out 2 run be? It's comping to Barbie. Is that where we're headed, Clayton? Are you feeling that last year was the summer of Barbie and this year is the summer of anxiety to that level?
I mean, I think we mentioned it last episode that I think it's more the summer of the rats. I think you're gonna of course, this
Mm-hmm.
is spectacular, but you're also gonna see really big numbers for Despicable Me 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that it's gonna be rats all summer, and this will be a big story. I mean, they're saying half a billy for this domestic, which would be
Mm-hmm.
great. But I think that's gonna be the true story is just how much the rats are being fed this summer and what
Yeah.
that could mean for summers in the future.
Right. Right. Because previously the last 10 years or so have been about feeding the adults who want to be teenagers. It's been all the Marvel movies and focusing on your 40-year-olds who want to put on their pajamas from when they were 8 years old. But now it finally might be all about the actual 8-year-olds.
Mhm.
Although we have talked about, we didn't really mention this group when we talked about the opening weekend of Inside Out 2, but the Pixar perverts,
Mhm.
these middle-aged Pixar fans, Inside Out 2 doesn't get to 155 without them. So we
Yes.
thanked the rats on the last episode. We said, thank you, rats. Clayton, do you want to on air say thank you to the Pixar perverts? I leave this to you.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they are a driving force for this
Mm-hmm.
movie, so I would have to thank them.
Okay.
I mean, I will have to thank them, you know? So, yeah, I agree. I think that they are a big, reason why this is going higher than a normal kids movie might be doing, just because they really are saying, "We want to we want our perversion in theaters," is what they're
Right.
saying. They could watch any manner of perversion at home, but they wanna do it in public is
Right.
really what they want, and so I'm not gonna go more into how troubling that is. If they're buying popcorn, they're buying popcorn,
Yep. Yeah.
right? If they're
And whatever they
buying
use that popcorn and that popcorn butter for, that's on them,
yeah, if
as long as they
whatever
pay for it.
exactly, whatever, if they're buying the Now and Laters or they're buying their Mike and Ike's or
Mhm.
whatever duo candy that they enjoy, then they're doing what needs to be done in a very hard time for the business to keep it running. So right now we can't be as picky as I would like to be for who can come and go from a theater unabated.
Right. Right.
Right? We just can't afford it right now. So
Right.
if the Pixar perverts are coming to the theater to do what they do, then we have to abide it at the
Mhm.
moment. We just
Mhm.
have to. The same thing with the Bazinga Bros when Deadpool Wolverine comes out.
Right.
Do I want to hang out with a bunch of Bazinga Bros? No, I don't. But right now, beggars, we're beggars,
Yeah.
cannot be choosers.
Yeah. We need those Bazinga Bros to come out in force for the it's not the collab yet. I mean, they still have time to put the X in there and have it be Deadpool X Wolverine. That's what gets that movie over 200 million for the opening weekend.
Well, the
Is the
tracking, yeah.
collab, is the X.
We haven't mentioned the tracking.
Yeah.
So there were stories that dropped that Deadpool Wolverine may become the highest grossing opening of an R-rated film ever.
Mhm.
Over 200 million is what they're saying could happen, even higher.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they have yet to add that X.
Yeah, they
And it's
haven't added the
such a
X yet.
no-brainer. It is
Yep.
the biggest no-brainer of all no-brainers,
Yep.
and yet they won't do it. Why? I mean, why not do that?
Is there any, could it be, and I'm just throwing this out there, could Warner Brothers have copywritten the collab? Could they have copywritten the
No.
X? There's no way, right? I mean,
No way.
Deadpool, there's no way. You can't copyright an X, especially from the company that owns the rights to the X-Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the big thing is that you
Right.
have an X logo just lying around.
Yes.
You don't have any X product at the moment. Just take that X and throw it in between those two names. You got a collab,
Yeah.
and people love a collab.
People love a collab. So we'll see. I mean, there's still time. There's basically 1 month from now, a little over a month before Deadpool and Wolverine makes the move to become Deadpool X Wolverine, which that would take it over 200 million opening weekend. But yeah, this Inside Out week, I'm just looking at the dailies here, the day by days, and you look at these day by days. Inside Out 2 on Monday did 22 million in one day. And then on Tuesday, did $28 million. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, the day by days too for Bad Boys Ride or Die are just outstanding. They went up from Tuesday after Monday. So that movie is still riding high. But yeah, the day by days for Inside Out too, especially if they hit 30 million, set a Juneteenth record on this Wednesday. It's this is a phenomenon, and we're going to see this weekend. I mean, it's the weekend preview. It's the freaking weekend. What do we think this drop is? They did 155 last weekend. Um, could this movie have a drop of less than 50% and do, $80 million in its second weekend? Do we
I
think that's possible?
I think so. I could see this drop being in the 40s. I could see it ending up at 70 something, high 70s, maybe 80s. Um, I, you know, here's the question. because you
Mhm.
mentioned the great Will Smith, and
Yeah.
he is great.
He is great. Yes.
That story, and I sort of gave you shit last episode for talking about Ride or Die in the context of if it had had the same drop that it had this past weekend,
Right.
but Inside Out 2 didn't do what it did, that would be the story.
Yeah, that's what I
I'm
said.
sort of going back to that ground there because my question to you is,
Mhm.
Will Smith,
Mhm.
we're talking about emotions, right? We're talking about the emotions in Inside Out 2. We're talking ennui, of course, anxiety, the
Yes.
big breakout.
Yep.
But there's also anger. Anger is
Mm.
back.
Yep. Lewis
I
Black, he came back. He did not turn down the paycheck. He's back as Anger, back in black.
inside Will Smith,
Okay.
those tiny beings that live in all of us, I guess, according to Inside Out 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Do you think there's any anger inside him right now for being overshadowed by this baby movie? Or is it an overwhelming sense of relief still? Or is it a mix? Because everybody is sort of a gumbo of emotions at all times,
Right.
unless you're in high duress. Do you think there is a element of how Will is feeling right now that, man, I sort of wish that this movie didn't do as well as it did because I only really had 1 week to celebrate. Now, there are people like us,
Right.
important people in the industry where, the industry listens to us and they know that we're giving him his proper respect, and we will continue to do it. We will
Mhm.
continue to point out how amazing those holds and those drops are and not let everything just become Inside Out 2,
Right.
parade, Rose Parade down 6th Avenue,
Right.
Avenue of the Americas. So, what is your thought with how Will Smith is feeling?
I do think that Will Smith is aware that, listen, even though Inside Out 2 is getting a lot of coverage, I'm sure he knows that the great Scott Mendelson has been continuing to cover the Bad Boys hold. And, listen, I, I think there's I think there are some people in the Will Smith camp who listen to the BO Boys.
Yeah.
I feel pretty strongly that that is the case, that this is
Mhm.
getting back to him. And so I think he knows that the hold of Bad Boys 2 the second weekend got his coverage. And he's a movie theater guy.
Mhm.
He wants this business to stay healthy. So I actually think Will Smith is only happy for the success of Inside Out 2 because he wants movie theaters to be as strong as ever because Will Smith is not doing limited series for Hulu. Will Smith is not doing a Peacock sitcom that he's going to be on. I mean, obviously, they rebooted The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, not starring Will Smith.
Mm-mm. And he's
He's a
not playing
movie
the
guy.
dad. He's not playing Uncle Phil in the reboot or the
Exactly.
reimagining.
He's not touching that stuff. So
Mhm.
he's a movie theater guy. So I would bet Will Smith is elated that Inside Out 2 sold all that popcorn. I'm sure Will Smith, as disgusted as he may be if he ever had to meet one of them in person, is happy that the Pixar perverts came out last weekend to watch their latest Pixar movie. I think he's happy about that. And I don't see him trying to slap anyone involved in Inside Out 2 because he thinks they stole their headlines. As long as Inside Out 2 and their crew and their people keep his wife's name out of their mouth, which I haven't seen Inside Out 2, but I don't think there were any G.I. Jane jokes in it. So I think Will Smith is okay with Inside Out 2's success.
I think he's happy that when he did show up in Crenshaw
Mm-hmm.
during that screening, that was a weekend where Inside Out 2 was not out. It was
Right.
just Ride or Die.
Yep.
And so he was not being enveloped by the sweaty palms of Pixar perverts. He
Right.
was able to be amongst hardcore fans of his franchise and not
Yep.
a mix
Yep.
of those people plus the middle-aged navel gazing Parks and Rec watching Pixar perverts.
Yeah, I think Will Smith is elated. I think that it's a happy time at the box office right now. Will that continue this weekend with the new movies? I mean, we'll see. One thing just to go back to on Inside Out 2's run, want to go to that second weekend of Barbie last year. So Barbie opened on July 21st last summer to 162 million, so a little higher than Inside Out 2. Second weekend only dropped 43%. The second weekend of Barbie was 93
Mm,
million. So
mm.
do we think that Inside Out 2 has a chance to do that kind of business? Could it hold, only drop 43%, which would give it, high 80s, mid 80s? Could this do 85 million and have a similar run to Barbie?
With the trajectory of this, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Because I also think that there are kids out of school, but not every school has ended. I mean, there are
Right.
schools that are still going to be in session until I believe this weekend. So this may
Mhm.
be a good celebratory thing to take your children to, get them straight out off the school buses into the theaters.
Mhm.
And you mentioning Barbie and its run, like, again, not to make things not about Inside Out too, but let's just really, again, how spectacular that Barbie run was, and the fact that it was a live action comedy
Mhm.
based on an IP that had never really had its time in the sun or a real attempt to make it into a major motion picture. Inside Out 2 is a sequel to a beloved blockbuster movie. So the fact that this is something that we knew had a possibility of making a lot of money because we knew the first one did.
Mhm.
Barbie being such an unknown, and the fact that how are people gonna respond to this makes that run even more amazing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, the Barbie run, when the BO Boys Book of Box Office comes out, and it has to be written and it has to come out. I mean, it's too important not to.
Mhm,
Barbie is gonna, and I'm not saying Barbenheimer. Barbie is gonna get its own chapter. That's how
mhm,
big that movie and that run was. It's something about Mary level, My Big Fat Greek Wedding level, original Godfather. It's one of those movies and one of those box office runs. So
mhm.
uh will Inside Out 2 get to that? I mean, we'll see. If the fact that it's possible is pretty stunning, so it's in a great spot right now. Do you think though that The Exorcism, a new film from Vertical Studios, uh produced by Miramax and Outer Banks Entertainment, starring Russell Crowe, do you think that The Exorcism this weekend will be in that conversation with Inside Out 2 and Barbie? Yes or no?
I I no.
Okay, explain.
I think that a lot of people who are not as knowledgeable about film releasing as us
Mhm.
are going to think, "Didn't I already see this movie? The Pope's Exorcist? Didn't I
Mhm.
see a Russell Crowe exorcism movie?" I mean, for him, it's a paycheck, and we respect that.
Mhm.
Actors like to work, that's something that a lot of these guys do.
Right.
But
Free food.
the fact that he is so willing to do a movie that has almost the exact same title as one he just did about a year or so ago,
Yeah. Pope's Exorcist opened on April 14th, 2023. So a year and 2 months or so.
and change.
Yeah, and change.
I think there's gonna be a lot of people thinking the way I'm thinking, which is I've already seen this. Even though it's a different concept, the concept that you explained to me at the water cooler at, BOHQ.
Mhm.
It's a fun premise. He plays an actor who plays an exorcist, and then he starts becoming possessed himself. Interesting concept. Vertical does not have the reach to really make this thing a hit. I think it is gonna get buried. If we're talking what's gonna make more this weekend, the Watchers or Watchers, it's The Watchers, right?
The Watchers, yeah. The
Yeah,
Watchers.
The Watchers or The Exorcism, I think The Watchers, just because there's more reach there.
So, I mean, last weekend, The Watchers in its second weekend did let's see, what did that movie do? $5 million in its second weekend. It did $3 million, $3.5 million. So you don't think that The Exorcism does over three and a half?
I no, no, I don't think so. I think it could
Um,
make one something.
okay. I mean, so The Pope's Exorcist, starring Russell Crowe, that came out April 2023, and it opened to 9 million. And
What was the company who released it? What was the studio?
was it a Focus movie? I'm not seeing it
I
in
don't
front
think
of
it
me
was
right now.
Focus.
Um, but yeah, it wasn't Vertical.
Yeah, that's
That
the
it actually
difference.
it might have been a Sony
Lionsgate,
Pictures movie, I think.
Sony.
Um, but I do like that. You mentioned you talked around the premise, but the premise of this movie being an actor who's on a horror movie who then becomes possessed. I mean, there's something to that in how catchy that is, and it's got the lore of everyone knows the story of these sort of haunted, famous horror movies. I think The
Well,
Exorcist itself,
Poltergeist is the one.
Poltergeist is the
Poltergeist
one.
is the one. It's not Exorcist. I've never heard that The Exorcist was a cursed franchise other than they really can't make a movie that's a hit. I mean, that's
Mhm,
cursed
mhm.
in a practical way. Poltergeist was the one that is supposedly cursed,
And not Poultrygeist, not the trauma film Poultrygeist. That
not
one,
the
I think
drum.
everyone involved in that has lived pretty happy lives.
As
Eh,
yeah, as well as you can live making movies for trauma,
yeah, yeah.
which
No one
I think is probably pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, no, I don't think there were any untimely deaths. I think the cast of Poultrygeist died on time,
Mhm.
is what I've heard. But,
That's what you hope for. You just die on time.
die on time, yeah, and I think everyone involved in Poultrygeist died on time. But, yeah, Poltergeist, that's the one, the famous one where a lot of accidents befell the cast and crew, and so this is kinda playing off of that premise, and it's Russell Crowe. You don't think he's got any juice left with the common man, with the common audience. You don't think he means anything.
Uh, what do you think this movie's gonna make?
I think I definitely am going to pick it ahead of The Watchers. I think The Watchers did 3.5 last week. It's going to do less than that this week. It's probably going to do like 2 or in the twos. I think that The Exorcism movie, it's got the confusion factor, which I think is good in that there's a there is a certain level of people who will see anything that is in this sort of exorcist milieu. And they
Mhm.
might think it's an official exorcist movie. They may think that Ellen Burstyn is going to be in it. I know she's not in it. I'm informed enough, but I'm sure there's people like me who are big Burstyn fans who just because they see Exorcist in there are going to think maybe she's in this and will
Mhm.
go for that. Or people who think that it's, the sequel to Believer or think it's a sequel to The Pope's Exorcist. Like, I do think Confusion gets $2 million in the door just on Confusion alone. And then you throw in the gore hounds of just people who it's a new horror movie, so we got to go see that. And then I do think Russell Crowe is becoming that sort of B movie go to guy that he's going to deliver. And I think that all adds up to this could do 5 or 6 million.
5 or
You
6 million, you're fucking insane. And
I think it could do that. I think it could do that.
so I don't want you to think that I'm being rude, although it is sort of rude that I was not listening to what you said until you dropped that bomb, and I
I
feel
saw
like
you
you
I
did.
saw you were looking at your phone, and I would hope that it's podcast related and not
It
just
is.
you checking scores because of a gambling addiction or something like that.
No. So, of course, we're talking about horror. So who was I texting when we talk about horror. And I
Oh,
know
are
it's
you on the line with our chief horror correspondent, Brett of the New Flesh, who also will be co-hosting with us the New York edition of the BO Boys Live? Is that who you were talking to?
I was texting with him, and now, of course, we know that he does have new flesh in his life. He has a baby.
Mm-hmm.
He may be taking care of the baby. He may be, lying next to them, stroking their hair, reading them a bedtime story,
Yeah.
whatever a new father does. So
Yeah.
he may not be able to respond to my text
Yeah. He also
while
might
we're
be
on air.
podcasting because he's got a podcast to feed mother and baby. So he may be
True.
doing that. Yeah.
And not just the new flesh, but he has Roger and Me, which is Roger Ebert and Me, where he reviews every movie that comes
Yeah.
out every week. So he's a busy individual. So he may not be able to get back to us, but I wanted to just reach out, and I texted. This is a shared, so you can see this is our shared thread. Brett, have you
Okay.
seen The Exorcism? Question number 1. Question number 2, what is your opening weekend prediction? And then told him we are on air,
We are
just
on
so
air.
he
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah. So he
We'll
knows
see if
it's urgent. Yeah.
it's urgent. So we'll see if he gets back to us. If he doesn't, that's fine. But we have to reach out, because the fact that you said 6 million, now, was that just to shock me into paying attention? Because if that's
This
the case, I mean, you did put out a prediction that is ludicrous. That is a ludicrous prediction.
This film also has Sam Worthington is in this film, and David Hyde Pierce plays a character called Father Connor. So David Hyde Pierce is back on the big screen, and I
So
think we do have to factor that in.
the fact that Sam Worthington is in this movie,
Yeah,
pardon me, fuck, it's
yeah,
rough.
it's Rafi. He's playing
And
Joe,
and
according
you're
to Wikipedia. He's playing Joe.
And you're coming at me with a 6, what did you say?
6
7
million. No, 6 million. I said 6 million.
No, I feel like you said, did you say up almost 9 million? Did you say something like that? Or was
I
I
said the Pope's Exorcist did 9 million. For this movie, I'm
okay.
saying 6 million.
Okay. How many theaters has it been? Vertical does not have the reach that Sony has. How do you
So
think that this is gonna open to that much?
I think that it's going to be in enough theaters to get itself to 6 million, because you can't listen. The rats need their cheese and the gore hounds need their exorcism movies. And people are going to think that she was in Exorcist Believer, and audiences are going to think that Burston is back. And I think
I
you can't undervalue that factor, that audiences now are trained to think Ellen Burstyn is in a movie that has a variation of the word exorcist in the title.
I think we're Exorcist out. I think that movie did poorly. I think The Pope's Exorcist did fine. I think this is just going to get lost in the glut. Uh, I just don't
Samantha
see this as
Mathis is in this film. Samantha Mathis
well. Now you're bringing me back around.
plays a character called Jennifer Simon. So Samantha Mathis from the original Super Mario Brothers. She was in American Psycho. The Thing Called Love. So I mean, she's back on the big screen. Adam Goldberg is in this film.
Okay.
Hebrew Hammer himself,
Mm-hmm.
Saving Private Ryan. He's in this. So
It's an
it's a stars.
all-star cast.
It's an all-star cast, and you know, Russell Crowe. It's Russell Crowe. I think that you put his big mug on a poster and people are passing by. He's still a draw. He's still a draw to the level of $6 million opening weekend. I
All
think
right.
it's
Well,
going to happen.
so then you think
Yeah.
that movie is going to, because let's see what actually our
Well,
top,
let's
because
talk about the other new release, because we're going to do our top fives later.
but what I'm saying is that then do
Well,
you
we're
think
not.
it
Are we
goes
doing our top fives now? Are we changing the order of the show?
no, but my question is, do you think it
Yeah.
makes the top 5? And what are you going to say? Wait until I say my top 5.
Wait till
That's
we
what you're
say
going to say.
top five. I mean, you understand why I would say what you knew I was going to say. You understand.
Mhm.
The
I
Bike
do.
Riders is the other
Finally.
wide release coming out this weekend.
It's almost like you didn't want to talk about it for some reason.
I mean, I'm seeing this film
Okay.
tomorrow night, tonight, Thursday night, as most people listen to this, I'm seeing this film, and I'm looking forward to it. I bought my tickets earlier in the week, and it's
Because you love
the
to be tracked. You love to be tracked.
I don't listen. If people want to know where I am and say hi, they
God,
say
you're one of
hi.
those guys.
Say hi.
Well, they already have all my information anyway. Who
No, I'm
cares?
not saying that. I'm
Who
saying say
cares?
hi. I'm saying say hi.
Google CIA. Who cares?
No, Google say hi. CIA say hi. You
CIA
know,
say hi. All right.
say hi if you're a fan. If you want to be oh boy, want to be oh girl, want to be oh person,
Person. Now,
say hi.
do you think the FBI has a file on us as the BO boys
Um,
because of our influence in the industry?
I would hope so. I
Yeah,
mean, I would hope it is a BO Boys file, because obviously if we have individual files, then something's
that's
wrong. But if
bad.
we have
That's
a
bad.
BO Boys file, then I think it's positive, you
Yeah,
know. Um,
yeah.
I think then I would hope we're in a file cabinet, next to Rob Harvilla, Kirk Minahan, like other big, relevant,
Podcasters.
huge podcasters. So I hope the FBI has files on us the way they have files on other huge podcasts that need to be kept aware of. So yeah, I hope
I
so.
wonder if there's them thinking, could we use them as a psyop? Like, if we're
Mm,
big enough that
hmm.
they think that we could maybe have psyop potential,
Right,
I
right.
think we could use that for advertisers to
Oh,
say
that we're a
that,
potential psyop. We're open to being psyops.
or just that the FBI thinks that we could maybe be big enough to be a psyop. That means a lot for advertisers because advertisers want to be tied to a psyop.
Right, right. Yeah, okay, so if you are the FBI,
Hmm.
or you're a fan, you're wanna be oh boy, wanna be oh girl, wanna be oh person
Person,
who works in an FBI office, and you've seen the file, you've seen the BO boys file, you've
the
seen that
physical file,
yep, the paper and
Manila folder.
manila folder in a metal filing cabinet, and you've seen that the FBI has listed us as having psyop potential. Take a photo, email it to the theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. Let us know. It's only for the purposes of negotiating ad rates with
Hmm.
potential advertisers. That's the only reason we would use that.
We won't share it with anybody else. We won't even mention it on the show.
No, we won't mention on the show. It'll only be when advertisers contact us about possible mid-roll deals, and
Hmm.
we'll let them know we need a higher rate because the FBI sees PSYOP potential in the BO boys. So,
I think that'll
uh,
go pretty far with Manscaped.
yes. Oh my god, they definitely wanna you know, get their ads read by possible psyop. So that would be huge for us. But the Bikeriders, I am seeing this. I'm excited. Listen, it's a movie starring some potential up and comers. I mean Austin Butler, obviously. The
Comers. I'd say he's a comer.
he's comer, but he needs to come some more to get to, the level of, say, a Timothy Chalamet.
Oh,
He's not.
he's not coming like Timmy.
No, but
See.
he could, get his way up and come in some more with this movie, possibly. I mean, basically, Austin Butler had Elvis, which was a huge hit in summer 22. So it's talking 2 years ago. He got the Oscar nom out of it. Retrospect, should have won the Oscar.
Mhm.
Uh, the
Agreed.
the the Brendan Fraser year. I mean, what were we doing? Give it to the
Laughing
guy
stock.
who's, yeah, it's a laughing stock. Um, and then he's Dune 2, which giant hit, opens 82 million. There's a possibility that he ends up in the Oscar race this year as supporting actor.
I don't think so.
I I
Not
I
for Dune 2. Not for Dune 2.
I tend to agree, but you never know. I mean, we'll see how this year shakes out. If Warner Brothers goes all in, and he was the villain of that, and he has some big showy scenes. So we'll see. But
Mhm.
he's in that mix, and Dune
Yeah.
2 is a big hit, but it's a large cast. So Bike Riders is the closest, and Tom Hardy's the star of the Bike Riders. He's I would say, still the biggest star of
'Cause of
these
Venom.
people because of Venom. But it's Tom Hardy, Jodie Comer, and Austin Butler. So this is the type of movie. It's a drama, about people riding motorcycles. It's the type of movie that you would like to see make some kind of impact at the box office. It's from
Old
Focus
fashioned
Features. Yep.
meat and potatoes type of film.
Well,
American, very American film. It
well,
feels like
that's the thing though, is you're the guy who's got his ear to the ground, your face to the
literally
ground. Literally your face is often just lying on the pavement.
it's part of the job.
You're the one who works in the soot mines and talks to Joe Lunchpail every day. I try and
Hmm.
stay out of it and just you tell me what Joe Lunchpail said.
Yep.
Does the Bike Riders have that kind of potential to reach middle America or is it just going to be a coastal elite art film that takes place in middle America?
Yeah, I mean, that feels like what this director, Jeff Nichols, correct?
Jeff Nichols, yeah. So this is the director of Mud, of Loving. What was it? Midnight Special was
Mhm.
his. So he's yet to have the box office breakthrough. He's had a lot of critically acclaimed indies and ones that have definitely been seen by a lot of people,
Mhm.
but hasn't had a movie that, unless I'm wrong, has made like $40 million at the box office.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of what I get the feeling of with him and his oeuvre is that they're movies about middle America that aren't aimed at the people in middle America,
Hmm.
which a lot of times, people can watch movies that aren't aimed at them.
Right, right.
But he's in this sort of muddy middle ground of they're not arty enough for the arty people, and they're not really authentic enough for a middle America audience, you know?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
you
it's not
said muddy middle ground. His biggest box office hit, in
was
quotes,
mud.
was Mud, April 2013. It ended up legging out to $21 million total domestic. Uh, that was starring Matthew McConaughey. Otherwise, Take Shelter did a total of 1.7 million. Midnight Special did 3.7 million. Loving did 7.7 million, despite having Nick Kroll in the third biggest role in the movie. It still only
Mhm.
did 7.7 million. So he hasn't had the big box office breakout, even though his movies, like you said, are about everyday folks in
And I
some way. Though I mean, Michael Shannon as a star of two of his movies, it's hard to view Michael Shannon as an everyday folk.
The guy, I
Great
mean, the
actor,
guy
but
owns a
yeah.
brownstone, which good for him. That's great. But everyday folks don't own brownstones. So the thing with this movie, I think it's the closest. I mean, we're talking Mud had a legitimate star in it, but that
Yep.
was when McConaughey was trying to reclaim his stardom. I mean, that was at the beginning of the McConaissance, as they call it, right?
Right, right.
And so, but still, he's bigger than anybody else that's been in any of his other movies, really.
Bigger than
This
Nick Kroll.
is
Yeah, I would say Matthew McConaughey is bigger than Nick Kroll. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that Austin Butler being in this and Tom Hardy, there was a lot of people that know Tom Hardy from Venom. He's doing a funny voice. Eddie Brock is a character in Venom that has a funny voice. That could translate. I mean, this is his shot. This is Jeffrey's shot at maybe making a movie that makes more than Mud.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't see it only
So you don't think it
because
gets to 23 million total in the end?
only because of there doesn't seem to be any buzz on this. It's I mean, there is an element of the style that they're invoking right now is hot, sort of the denim workwear, all that sort of thing is
Okay.
having a moment. But I don't think people go to movies specifically because of wardrobe. I don't think $22 million worth of people who like to buy workwear and wear it to not work are, Carhartt and the like are going to go to this movie just to see that. They could go online and look at a catalog. So I just don't see the must-see factor to this. I mean, that's what we're seeing this summer, and we're seeing more with moviegoers is Furiosa wasn't a must-see, so people didn't see it. Fall Guy, it took a while. People are seeing it, but it
People
wasn't
are
a
seeing it.
must-see. But it wasn't a must-see right out of the gate, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a movie like this, it's very hard to keep a movie like this in theaters when people don't run out of the gate and gravitate toward it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
unless it opens up and there's immediate, this is going to be a huge Oscar player. Jodie Comer is going to get a nomination. If it gets that,
we'd already know that. I mean, as also Oscar prognosticators, we'd already know that. I
yeah,
mean,
this is a weird one in terms of the Oscars because this movie was supposed to open last fall. It was, I think, an October release that then got pushed out of the year because of the strikes and no one could promote it. And I do remember when it got pushed, it was being looked at ahead of time as going to be a factor in last year's Oscar race. Austin Butler and Jodie Comer were supposedly going to be in the hunt if it came out last year, but then you're not hearing it this time.
no.
And I do wonder though if it's just people even in the industry felt like, well, I talked about this already. I think that's a little bit of what's happening with the Bikeriders is didn't this come out last year? I think the industry almost feels like we already wrote our Bikeriders Oscar previews and maybe it coming out will reignite that, or maybe the cycle already passed and it needed to have come out last year. We'll see. But that does seem to be what was happening because I do remember Jodie Comer ahead of it coming out last year when it was supposed to come out was considered a Oscar potential nominee, and you're not hearing that as much now.
Yeah. She's somebody. I mean, obviously, I don't want to speak for you, but I know we've liked her in several things. I don't think she's a butts in the seats by any stretch of the imagination. She is a possible value add for a certain demographic, but is the reach on this, is the buzz on this hot enough? And it doesn't feel that. This feels like it is an afterthought.
So Tom Hardy, do we think that he means anything? I mean, he's not playing Venom in
As
this.
as much as I was saying, Tom Hardy with a goofy voice people like, but he's just not a guy that gets people to the theater without him being Venom. And that's okay. At least he has that. There's so many actors that don't even have that.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
Jake
looking at
Gyllenhaal doesn't have that.
does not have that.
He has no character that he can fall back on where, well, at least I can always be Mysterio, or at least I could always be fill in the blank. There's not, I mean, even Jason Mewes has that. Jason Mewes has something that Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't have.
So I'm looking at Tom Hardy's box office history, and one thing I gotta say about Tom Hardy is he really does way less movies than you would think, considering how big of a star he is and how many movies stars typically do. Because his movies since 2015, I'm gonna just go back 10 years. He did Mad Max Fury Road, hit, how big of a hit we'll say, but I mean, it was a hit. He did Legend. He did The Revenant, huge hit. Of course, that's Leo, obviously. Dunkirk, that's Nolan. Cameos in a Star Wars movie, that doesn't count. Does the first Venom. Does Capone, which looks like that's only international release. Does Venom 2. And then it's the Bikeriders and this Venom. That's it. Those are his movies. So there is something to Tom Hardy, for the Tom Hardy fans, does not oversaturate himself. And as far as I know, I mean, I don't think he's been in a streaming series that I missed. Like, I don't think he did a
he had an FX. He had an FX show.
He had an FX show?
Yeah, he had an FX show that he starred in, and he also was on Peaky fuck it, it's Raw Feed. Peaky Blinders.
Oh, wow, interesting. I mean, I that totally goes over my head. I did not know that he's had such a TV presence.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in the movies, he's kept himself pretty special. So if you're a Tom Hardy fan, you're not getting a ton of him, and this is your first chance since Venom 2 to go pay to see him. So that could be something. So I mean, we'll get to that last thing on this movie. It's set in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a problem? Is that a problem? It's not set in modern day. It's set in the 1960s, a motorcycle club in the 60s.
Yeah, I think the 60s you'd still, I mean, there's still people who yearn for those times, you know. I think
Uh,
60s is a safe thing safe time period to set your movie in with. There's going to be, you know, some jukebox music that you can put on there. I think 60s is a perennial go-to. You're going to have 60s, you're going to have 80s, you're going to have 90s now, you know.
So the
Soon it's going to
70s
be
you would say is
2000.
no good.
No, I think the 70s, I mean, we look at Black Phone.
Which
Black
decade do
Phone
you
was
say is a
70s.
problem then? Which decade would you say is most dead at the box office right now?
I mean, I would say anything before the 40s, and the
Oh, okay.
40s only if you're talking World War II.
I think the 40s
No,
are a
World War
deal.
II. World War II.
World
World War
War
II is
II. You're right.
40s,
You're
so
right. You're right.
technically that's that's a great IP, and that
You're
is the
right. You're
40s.
right.
Anything else before that, I say no.
Yeah. I would say the 50s are a not a good box office decade at this point. Because by then World War II's over. I don't
Mhm.
think people are yearning for the, you know, post World War II suburban boom era in any way. So I think you go to World War II, then you skip that, you go to the 60s. I don't know. I'm a little I think that the 60s could be a little bit of a problem for the box office. I'm
How
not as
so?
high in the 60s.
Explain.
I just don't think that the I mean, first of all, the audience who remembers those days are incapacitated in terms of going to the movie theater
Well, Pat,
right
the
now.
60s, you know what they say, if you remember it, you weren't there.
You weren't there, man. Yeah, no, I know that. But for the ones who are there, man, they are not going to be able to be in the theater this weekend.
It was a
Uh,
happening.
but I think we'll see. I mean, we'll see if the kids who love Venom movies and Venom memes and the kids who loved, Austin Butler cutting his tongue with a knife in Dune 2, those teens and 20-year-olds, if they want to see a 60s movie.
Well, I mean, you
We'll
know,
see.
you were saying 50s don't do shit, but Elvis started in the 50s. That movie had moments in the 50s.
It
So,
had moments in the 50s. It gets you though through the 60s. I would say that's more of a 60s set movie. And then, you know, then you get him in that suit in the 70s. So,
mhm.
it doesn't stay in the 60s. It doesn't stay in the 60s. So, that is those are the movies coming out this weekend. I mean, quickly, I'd say let's go through some quick hits with
Mailbag.
some mailbag because we haven't gotten to the mailbag in a while. Okay, this is a good one because this was sent a few weeks ago. It was sent before Bad Boys Open, and Tyler sends this. It's called The Fresh Savior. Uh, if Will Smith somehow revives the box office of Bad Boys 4 this weekend, should the Academy immediately put an end to his Oscars ban? I think even Chris Rock would thank him for his service. So now we know that he did, in fact, save the box office, or at least had a huge hit with Bad Boys. So we know that happened. Clayton, do you think that the Academy should end the ban because of how well Bad Boys 4 did at the box office?
This is
He's
a
banned for
interest
10 years. 10 years.
It's an interesting question,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you have to think about how the Academy feels about box office.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen that the Academy doesn't care about box office. Should they? Absolutely. Do they? No. So, with that thought process, if I'm in charge of the Academy, if me and Pat, the BO boys, are given the reins of the Academy Awards, I would say, of course, open arms. We'll let you
Mhm.
back in.
Yeah.
No harm, right? Who did it hurt? Just a
Right.
guy that's never made a hit movie.
Right.
Now, if you're up there slapping Tom Hanks, we have a problem. You're up there
Yeah.
slapping Tom Cruise, we have a problem.
Yeah,
These
yes.
are your
Slap
these are your
Denzel, we got a problem.
we've got a
Yeah.
big problem, and
Yeah.
Denzel's got a big problem too. And I don't think,
Yeah.
I mean, what world would we be living in if somebody would slap Denzel Washington? I can't even
Right.
imagine. But yes, absolutely. Then that is a problem. You're slapping the CB4 guy, then it's all good. So
So
I would say if it's me, but the Academy, they're not going to do it. So it's sort of a moot question because they don't care about box office. They've shown it. They don't care about. I mean, they claim to care about viewership and they claim to care about ratings, but they don't do anything about it when it comes to actually having movies people have watched be up for awards or
yeah.
respecting the movies that had Bafa Bobo. We saw what happened with Barbie, where they had that opportunity with the Oscars to really put Barbie up against Oppenheimer, and they stopped short of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that gives me no respect for them when it comes to taking in box office, in account when they do what they do over there.
Yeah.
So my answer is they should, but they won't.
Yeah. I mean, there's no easier ratings play for the Academy than to announce that Will Smith is going to present an award at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
And Bad Boys 4, a huge overperformer this year. This should be the year, and the ban, and have Will Smith open the Academy Awards this year.
And you know
And
what?
that's the move.
Martin Lawrence, Best Supporting. Just throwing it out there.
Oh my God. I mean, we can't spoil yet, so we won't talk about what his what scene I'm talking about, where Martin Lawrence talks about past lives and
Yeah,
says who Will Smith was in a past life. We won't spoil it here. You got to see it. But that should be his Oscar clip for Best Supporting Actor for Martin Lawrence, 100%.
Pat,
And Will Smith should be the one announcing that category.
that clip plays
Yeah.
while Will is holding that envelope.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta have that. You gotta have the reaction.
Yep.
Of him looking at it, cheeky. The
Yeah.
crowd erupting, laughing.
Yeah. Eating out
On
of
the
Will Smith's
floor,
hands.
eating
Yeah.
out of his hand. Right? I mean, that is what ratings are made of, and the Academy won't do it. The Academy won't do it.
They won't do it. We got an email from wannabe oh boy Sean, titled Movie Spoon. He says, "Hey guys, welcome back, Clayton. During a viewing of Latest Apes, I noticed a drop my blood sugar, so I asked my son for some of his M&Ms, and I proceed to dump some into my popcorn. My first go at this, and man, I was let down. All the M&Ms flew to the bottom of my nearly full bag of popcorn, leaving me with decreasing blood sugar and greasy M&Ms at the bottom of the bag. While finally eating the candy and coming out of it delirium, I thought of Kirk's idea of a movie spoon. Once again, Kirk was right. Signed, Sean, diabetic." Now, of course, Sean in the past has also told us he's an alcoholic. Good to know he's also diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
A movie spoon. Yeah, I mean the M&M and popcorn mix is always it's in theory sounds perfect, and as Sean saw, it could be tough because of gravity. Pulls those M&Ms straight to the bottom of the bag. Buttering popcorn is always an issue because the
Well,
butter
makes
will
the
stay at the
kernel is
top.
more viscous. Like also when you're dumping those, if it's drier popcorn, those
Right,
candy pieces may stick. Not stick, but they may stay because they have something firm to hold on to.
right,
The viscousness will make the candy slip to the bottom into that
right,
pool of butter that he mentioned.
right. So the buttering, you want to butter your popcorn, but then it causes candy to slide down that buttery popcorn when you dump candy in. So yeah, a spoon. Um, a spoon, I guess, for mixing, a spoon for digging. Um, I think that it's one of those things that should not be for free.
Mhm.
I think this is a way to add on for the theaters. Do you want a popcorn? I'll have a medium. Do you want to go large for 50 cents more? Yeah, I'll have a large. For 80 cents more, do you want a spoon? And
80
with a
cents.
eh,
Dude, you gotta be
$4,
selling yeah,
$4 spoons, $4 spoons,
$10 spoons. You gotta be
$10 spoons, sure.
selling
$10,
commemorative spoons.
$15. Okay. So then now we're
$20.
$20. Yeah, easy, easy.
And these
Mhm.
spoons are spoons that are commemorative, like all these popcorn buckets. I mean, we don't purchase them, but they're an incentive. If your kid could take home a spoon shaped like anxiety, would they not wanna do that?
Mhm.
So why
Right,
not sell that for 20 bucks?
right, right. Um, I agree. $20 spoons, uh, easy, easy,
Mhm.
easiest money these theaters could ever make. But very quick one, just going through some old ones. This is a suggestion from Nicholas uh, Lasagna Taylor Joy. So this was a suggestion. We've heard this from a few people. We'll give Nicholas credit here. What pains me that the opportunity for the next Barbenheimer passes by when Lasagna Taylor Joy, Garfield plus Furiosa didn't catch on a few weeks ago. I think this genuinely could have gotten butts in the seat. $60 million openings for both Garfield and Furiosa easily. I mean, do you think Lasagna Taylor Joy, if Warner Brothers had gotten some meme makers on that one and gotten Lasagna Taylor Joy to trend on Twitter X, could that have done anything to help Furiosa, or was that just a turkey no matter what the memes were?
Well, I do like the cleverness of it, but it's maybe a little bit too clever and a little
Okay.
bit too
By
I
half,
n
maybe.
I need to know the name of the actor, and I need to know the main character from the other movie's favorite food. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not as accessible as something like Barbenheimer was. Or, what was the one that was gonna be Taylor Swift and The Exorcist?
Extra Swift.
Extra Swift.
Yeah, Extra
So,
Swift. But
that is
Exorcist ran.
Exorcist ran,
Yeah,
famously ran.
famously ran.
So, we that's something that's very easily accessible because you know the person's name is Taylor Swift and you know the name of the movie.
Right.
Lasagna Taylor Joy, it's just a little bit too inside baseball.
Yeah, too cute by half.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. That wouldn't have helped. Um, it's gotta be, listen, Barbenheimer was a once in a lifetime. Obviously, I do think they should try with more of that. Saw Patrol was probably too early and too forced.
Mhm.
Um, but it's closer to the spirit of Barbenheimer than Lasagna Taylor Joy would
Well,
have.
a simpler one would be Furiosa
Oh,
because
yes, Furiosa. And then you maybe trick some of these furry, people into the theater.
and listen, as I was saying about the Pixar perverts, at the moment, we are not able to be choosers.
No,
So
no.
if we have a movie
Yeah.
that these furries wanna go see,
Yep. Let him in.
I'm not
Let
turning
him
them away.
in.
Let them in.
Let him
Let them
in.
in.
Let him in.
I will say with much reservation, and I'm not happy about it,
Mhm.
let them in.
So just another housekeeping quick one. Uh Wannabe oh boy Jason a few weeks ago just threw this theory out for why Furiosa tanked. I know you're not the Streamo boys, but
Huh?
Netflix dropped a movie called Atlas with J Lo the same weekend for a casual viewer. The trailers say the tale. There's what the hell is going on and who are these people versus J Lo and Machine Gun Baymax want to kick some ass. Do you think the J Lo movie put any dent into
Nobody wants
Furiosa?
J-Lo. Nobody wants anything related to J-Lo. I'm sorry.
Uh,
Jason, you're very good emailer. We love you, obviously. This one, no. Nobody watched that movie.
no,
Nobody watched
nobody.
that movie. And
I mean,
nobody wants anything to do with her. I mean, nobody.
people
People
watch
that are
the.
married to her don't wanna be married to her
Wow.
anymore.
Okay.
I'm going
Okay.
there. I'm
He's
going
going there.
going
I'll say J-Lo is not someone people want to buy tickets for. Obviously, we've seen that with her tour. She had to cancel an entire summer music tour. But I think people want to stay home and watch her for free. And so
That
whatever.
Amazon movie didn't do shit. I don't
Okay.
agree.
Okay. Um Jason, he followed up with another one, forgotten Will Smith IP. So I saw a video once about Will Smith, and one of his biggest regrets is how badly Wild Wild West did, how bad it flopped. Might he make a fun sequel doing a Bad Boys 3 style, surrounding himself with a young team of gunslingers to mentor, or is it best to just let it die? I could see it either way, but is is it wrong to hope he goes for it? The only thing cooler than Will Smith with a machine gun is when he's packing six shooters. Want to be oh boy Jason. Is there any possibility Will Smith? We talked about this before. They're obviously going through his back catalog to see what you could sequelize. I mean, I do think ID 43 is going to happen. You're less high on that one. Wild Wild West 2. Could you see it? That was his first career misstep. Obviously, he did pretty quickly rebound from that and have an incredible 2000s run. But that was the first box office misstep. That was sort of Will Smith's Cable Guy,
Mhm.
where it was a bomb, but it was a bomb in the middle of the giant run, and the giant run pretty much continued right after that.
It still made 113 domestic, so it's not like it stayed under 100, which,
Right, right.
when you're talking about when that movie came out in 1999, that's still a good, a good amount to make. It just wasn't what he was used to and what
No,
the
no.
studio was used to making off of the budgets that they put out for him.
Yeah. And it was a July 2nd movie, so it was one of the most official Big Willie weekend movies. Big
Mhm.
Willie's had other July movies, but that was a straight up 4th of July Big Willie weekend opener.
I
It opened to 27 million in 1999. It just shows the power of Will Smith's run, where that was considered the bomb.
Yeah, I like the concept. Again, it's one of those infamous flops that
Infamous
I
flop.
don't
Yeah.
think people can get past that. The
Yeah.
mechanical spider that they were always trying to put in something and then it just ended up being in there. I think it's known just as a huge flop, and it would be hard to follow up a flop even if it was, a good concept like this one is.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I agree that one would be tough. I feel like that is, and I don't think this website really exists anymore, but Wild Wild West 2 feels more like Will Smith would do that as a Funny or Die sketch than he
Mhm.
would an actual movie. He
Yeah.
would promote ID 43 with a fake trailer on Funny or Die for Wild Wild West 2. So I
Yeah.
think that's probably the best chance for a Wild Wild West sequel is a fake trailer on a defunct Funny or Die website.
Agreed.
Um, we got this from our one of our OGs, or at least someone who's been with us for a while, Reed. So
Agreed.
Reed, he writes Ape Strong, PG-13 Stronger. And he says the low declines for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes have as much to do with PG-13 as Father's Day weekend or double bill drive-ins. There is an underserved audience that either doesn't want to see a family movie or cannot get into Bad Boys. Usually by this time of summer, we have had numerous PG-13 superhero or Transformers or Bourne or Star Trek or Top Gun movies. something that is 4-quadrant-ish that the whole family wants to see. America has been trained to see this type of blockbuster for almost 50 years, thanks Jaws. So I take the over on any Quiet Place Day One or Twister's box office prediction. There's an underserved audience that wants PG-13 summer action blockbuster. Love the show, Reed. I love
Love
that.
this.
Love this.
Love
Um,
this.
and I love that
Agreed.
yeah, it makes so much sense. And it is part of why when you look at the movies that underperformed in May, um, Furious is one of them. Now, The Fall Guy, that was PG-13, right?
Maybe not.
Could the Fall Guy could not have been an R-rated movie. No, that was PG-13. So, that's part of probably why it's like holding fairly well and making some money in the weeks afterwards, because it's a accessible movie that isn't a baby movie and isn't a movie that's going to turn away teenagers and families. It's a
Mhm.
movie. Those are the type of movies, those PG-13 movies, where a dad is going to feel comfortable still going with their tween and teen kids.
Yeah.
Um, and they're not going to do that with Furiosa.
Mhm.
And I totally agree. And that is a great sign for Twisters, that it's just going to be like families could go see that movie and 13-year-old, kids could go see that movie.
Yeah, that it was such an insightful email because I do think, and I'll say, I mean, I won't speak for you, but because now you do have nieces that you also have to think about. Oh, is this a G movie or PG movie or what? What am I taking this person to? That's something you think about now, where I don't have any sort of form of child in my life, so I don't think about ratings. I know I could get into any rated movie, right?
Right, right.
And so the fact that we hear from parents and guardians like this who do give it thought, because
Mhm.
you may have a 7-year-old and then you might have a 13-year-old, and you're thinking, what is a movie that I could take them both to? Maybe something that's a little bit advanced for the 7, but not so advanced that
Right.
they're going to be scaled or it's going to be inappropriate. So something like a PG-13 like Twisters, you probably could take a 7-year-old and your 13, 14-year-old to this movie and enjoy it together, right? So
Yeah,
those are
or at
thought
least like a
processes.
10-year-old. Like I think that's a movie where, yeah, if you've got like a 9 or 10-year-old and you know, early teenager, something like Twisters or something like Apes is a
Mhm.
family movie in the way that Furiosa wasn't going to be that option. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, I say that having been taking my parents to see Natural Born Killers in the
famously.
theater,
Yeah.
famously when I was like 12 and my sister was 9, I guess at that point.
Mhm.
Um, but most people, most families, especially nowadays, listen, that was the 90s, a different time, but
Different
most
time.
families now are still going to lean towards PG-13 is the way to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. Something like Apes could be, that's a movie that easily they could have went and done hard R and do our R-rated Apes and, really make
You're
it gritty.
seeing naked ape nips,
Right, right.
you
But
know,
they didn't go that way.
they're
And
doing yeah.
yeah, and that is why the apes have been holding really well. And great email there. PG-13 is still the rating that does the best. And it's for a reason, because it
Mhm.
feels inclusive, because also, obviously Inside Out 2 is doing record breaking numbers, but a lot of times a teenager might be a little put off by a G or PG movie because it
Yeah,
feels like a baby movie.
exactly. That PG-13 is perfect because it's not too intense and it's also not a baby movie.
Hmm. Let's see, anything else here.
There can't be
Uh
more. That's so many
uh
emails.
quick one. I'll just let you answer this, yes or no, from Tyler. minor league call up. Tyler says, boys, Shane Gillis has a hit Netflix show hosted SNL, Eating the Wings. Is it time for the man who has been referred to as Taylor Swift for guys to get called up from the minors and be given a chance to rescue comedy at the BO? Thanks, Tyler. So, Clayton, Shane Gillis, should he get a movie? Tyler wants to know.
4 words. Bert Kreischer's The Machine.
Wow.
Out of here. Next. Nope.
Next.
Nope.
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 Here's something, the last one, because we have been sitting on this for a while, and I've had it in our starred here, and we haven't gotten to it. Florence Pugh Thunderbolts set hostage video. Wannabe Oh Boy Chet asked us a while ago for a statement from the BO Boys on the hostage video Florence Pugh posted of the set of Thunderbolts as leaders in the righteous movement to release her from that disaster. Your insight on the video, if it contains Morse code like cries for help, would be great service to the people. I mean, this is one we should have got to a while ago, but Florence Pugh in Thunderbolts on the set, videos have been leaking that are clearly, I agree, clearly her asking for help. So I think it's clear she wants off of this movie, never wanted in it. Obviously, the contracts are binding and her legal team cannot get her out of this. Is there anything a common person could do to aid Florence Pugh here in this situation in which she has to do this Thunderbolts movie? I mean, is it just thoughts and prayers? Is that the best at this point that an everyday person could do to help Florence Pugh through this situation where she has to be in Thunderbolts?
I mean, I pray for
send
her.
food.
I pray for her every night. I do
Yeah.
that. I do
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And, she's in the roll call of people I pray for.
Yep.
I've
Kevin
said
Costner,
this.
obviously. Yeah.
I pray for Kevin Costner and his bank account with
Yep.
Horizons,
Mhm.
the Horizon films, the 4 films that we will hopefully be graced for. I pray for those every night.
Yeah.
And I've said this previously. We talked about Florence Pugh and her current predicament and how some of the other rising stars have been able to step away or get out of their contracts.
Mhm.
I think that this is, and I'm not a political person, this, and I don't like to talk politics.
Right. No.
But I do feel like with the election coming up, there is an opportunity for a candidate to pardon Florence Pugh from the Thunderbolts.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I think that is a swing vote for me. If you are the candidate who will step up and say, we're done. We don't want to live under the iron fist of the Bazinga Bros and what they want to see. Marvel's gone too far. You can continue to make these movies with people like Chris Hemsworth till the day is done. But don't take our Florence Pughs.
Okay.
Keep your hands off our Florence Pughs, right?
Right.
And if that were to be something that a candidate said, I very may well vote for them strictly on that.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where it's important to me.
Yeah.
Certain things are important to certain people. That is important to me. I think if we were to be able to get her out of the contract, and a president could do that. A president can pardon anybody they want, basically.
Oh, a president could pardon a serial killer if they wanted to.
And I'd like to see more of that, but that's here or there. That's not here or there. I think Florence does need, for everything that they've done for us, for for the future of movies, pardon this young lady.
Yeah.
And you'll get my vote.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's huge. So, I mean, basically,
So I say push your politicians.
Your local representatives.
Yeah. Call your local representatives.
Yeah. All right. So that is pretty much all the emails we have to go through on this episode. Of course, email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We love getting your emails, boots on the ground reporting, your theories, your questions, all all that kind of stuff. The BO Boys podcast at gmail.com. Of course, watch us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. Hey guys. Hey guys. So if you're only listening to the podcast on the podcast feed, you're only getting half the story. You also have to watch us on YouTube. So subscribe there. And of course, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5-star reviews. And we actually need to read some of those soon. So on a future episode, we'll read some 5-star reviews and maybe some reviews that aren't 5 stars. Who knows? But give us those on Apple Podcasts. Of course, follow us on Twitter X. Wannabe Senior Intern Christopher has been doing a bang-up job with the vertical video clips on Twitter X and TikTok at the BO Boys Pod. And Clayton, are you folding your arms? Because, I mean, I won't say exactly where he's going to be, but Christopher, he reached out recently that he's going to need a little bit of time off soon from his duties because he's going on European vacation. I don't know if he's seen National Lampoon's European Vacation. That might have been before his time, but he will be going on European vacation. So if you are in Europe and you see Wannabe Senior Intern Christopher, say hi, guys. You know,
Hi, guys.
tell
Chip
him
off the
great
old
job on
block,
the vertical
huh,
videos.
Matt? Chip off the old block.
Listen,
For you,
you know,
not me.
He's, you know,
Following the footsteps.
Children always take after one of the parents. And you know, I think we're seeing who Christopher's taking after. He's going to Europe.
Just driving that wedge.
Not a wedge. Even if the child doesn't take after you as a parent, you still gotta love them.
Not true. Not true. Ask any parent.
True. Okay.
I'm folding my arms because we didn't do our top 5s.
Oh my. Okay. My Lord, I was going through the sign-offs. Let's jump back into the actual episode. Top 5s. I mean, I just thought we did it before because you were trying to force it into the middle of the show.
So you're right. You're right. Yeah. It's all on me. That's right.
Thank you for realizing that. All right. Well,
I said that sarcastically.
You're so eager to get into that top 5s. Would you like to give your top 5 predictions for the weekend of Friday, June 21st? Are you ready to give a top 5 prediction?
I would love to. Okay. So number 1. I think this is slam dunk, obviously, of all slam dunks.
Okay.
Is Inside Out 2. I was going to say In-N-Out. That's a burger chain. Inside Out 2. That is going to be your number 1 movie again for 2 weekends in a row. Now, here's the question. What is the drop?
Right.
What does it make?
Yep.
I think we're talking sub 50.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm going to go 79.
Wow. Okay.
I think it does it. I think this is a movie that people want to see. Or more rats are going to be freed from their cages, AKA school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be hot as balls in a lot of the country. Not everybody is as lucky to have air conditioning as we are. Mm-hmm. So I do think that there's going to be a lot of that going on. Summer has started, baby, and the rats are going to be scurrying around the theaters. So that's my number 1. Great. Number 2, I think you have Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is going to stay strong. I see this movie maybe making, I could see like a 30-something% drop on this one too. I could see 17 million, 18 million here.
Yep.
Number 3, I do think just by the fact that there's really not anything else coming out, I do see the Bikeriders here. Unless the Bikeriders completely crash and burn. But I think this is 9. I think this makes 9 million.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you're not high on it.
I don't think this is a double digit here.
Okay.
Number 4, I'm going with Reed. These apes.
Wow. Okay.
I think the apes hold. I think you're going to see, I mean, it went up 2% last weekend, basically.
That's incredible. We didn't talk about that. What a story that movie in its 6th weekend went up.
Well, but because that happened on Monday, it didn't happen when we recorded.
Yeah,
So there
yeah,
was
yeah.
like it had only dropped 3%, something really small, and now is up.
Yeah.
So I do think that that continues to be the case there.
Okay.
And so that's my number 4. And then I think, huh,
Huh.
I either want to go Garfield. I'm not going Exorcism.
You're not. Okay.
I think Garfield 5.
Okay. Garfield 5.
I think Garfield
Um,
5.
all right. So number 1, I got Inside Out. I'm gonna go higher than you. I think this hits 90.
Wow.
I think that
Wowie wow.
I think it could do it. I think it could do it.
I
Oh,
hope
I'm
it
sorry,
does.
not 90, not 90. You went
80.
79. I'm saying 80. I think it does 82.
Okay.
I think it does 82.
Why not go 90? Why not go
Barbie
crazy?
did 93 in its second weekend last year. I think Inside Out 2 could do low 80s. So I'm going to go 82, which is a, you know, in the 40s percent drop. So I think it gets
Spectacular.
there. Bad Boys Ride or Die is going to be number 2. Yeah, I think it'll be in the teens. You know, it could do 16, 17 million. Number 3 is going to be the Bikeriders. I think it gets to double digits. I think it does 11 million. I think it could do 11 million. I think that
Wine 11.
I think you got 9, I got 11, and there we go. Numerologists take it from there. I think Bike Riders number 3 at 11 million. I think
We're
Tom
practicing our
Hardy
psyoping with that.
and Dollar Shave Club. There you go. Pay
Mhm.
us. You want psyop potential. So yeah, I think the Tom Hardy thing where he's actually not on the big screen that much, and when he is, it's usually a pretty big movie. So I think that gets Bike Riders to 11 million. Um, Number 4, I'm going with The Exorcism. Gorehounds are going to come out. Russell Crowe fans are going to come out. It's going to do 6. So
If
that's
it wa
number 4.
if it wasn't
And
vertical, I would agree with you. I just don't it's vertical.
yeah,
It's
we'll
not
see.
Sony.
We'll see. I mean, hopefully Vertical's got their house in order. Get this in enough theaters for the Russell Crowe fans. And then number 5, that leaves Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is going to come in at number 5. So there's our top 5s. And yeah, I mean, buy tickets to the live show. LA is on sale. Link in the show notes. Boston and New York tickets are going to be probably on sale by next week, I would say, in the next week or two. So we'll be putting those links out there. But if you're in LA, Scott Mendelson, Jeff Bach are going to be on the live show in October. And man, I think that's it, Clayton. I got
Yep.
nothing left to say.
Nope. Like I said, 45 minutes on the dot,
On the dot.
in
Yeah.
and out.
Yeah.
So I think you've said it all, maybe too much, and there's nothing left to say
No, nothing.
except for until next time.
Will
We'll smell
smell
you
you
at
at
the
the box
box
office.
office. Nailed it.
Nailed it.